What's really important is that we have to have a clear vision of what we want for our mental state of well-being. And what is that? What is your clear vision? Is that, something where you're not overthinking? Is that sort of something where you're very focused and you're channeling your thoughts into a particular avenue? What is it for you? What is it for you? I work with a lot of people in this particular area, trying to really evaluate where their thinking is letting them down. And, I've got to say that often what I find is that people don't have a really strong intention for their thinking. Their thoughts are kind of a little bit on automatic pilot, and they're on their default setting and they're running off and doing their own thing. If this is working for you, then that's fine. But honestly, most of the time what I find is that it's not working for people. So you will need to consider, do you need to get a handle on this? Is this something that you need to do? What I find is really important when it comes to our mental health is the ability to persevere. A lot of people give up because the mind can be very strong. Now, this is a great attribute if it's used well. If you haven't used it so well up until now, it may be working against you and you may be feeling its force. It may be a force that's, very strong, and you're having difficulty trying to overcome this force. And this is where we're going to need a little bit of perseverance here. A little bit of persistence to stay on target, to know what we're going for, to be very clear, set some clear intentions so that we can actually begin to take action and transform our particular way of being within our own mind. And the ability to persevere is incredibly important. Not giving up. Not giving up. How many times, when things get difficult, when there's obstacles in the way, or, when we feel disappointed, do we just give up? We just say, oh, this is pointless. I'm not going to worry about it. It's just, this is the way that it is. I'd like you to rethink that, because it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't have to be that way. I know it gets overwhelming at times. I have a mind too, and I have thoughts and I have challenges and I have all of those things that you have, okay? And I think what we need to do is we need to have a really strong desire for something better. For something better than we have right now. Now, that could be playing out in many different ways, but just firstly, I think having a strong desire to actually improve things is a great place to start. In fact, I think it's the place to start. Really good place for you to get to. Do you want things to improve? Do you want to get better? So you may not know where you want to be exactly, but I'll tell you something. If you're facing in the right direction, then you're closer perhaps than you were yesterday. That's the way I look at it. Just as long as your feet are pointed in the right direction, I think that channeling that energy is what we need to do. So being aware that it's within our power to channel that energy and to do it in a very conscious way, and deciding for things to get better is the first step. I want things to get better. I want to improve my mind. I want to improve my mind, whether that be because it's overloaded, whether that be because you're not focused, you can't concentrate. whether that be because you can't remember things. Like, it could be in so many different ways, okay, for you. But I think that the most important thing is decide that you want it to be better, and then we're going to look at persevering with that, not giving up, okay? Not giving up when the going gets tough. And it will get tough, you know? It will. It's almost like a given, you know, that we're going to have a setback. Don't think for a minute, just because you decide it's going to be better, that it will be. You know, it will be eventually, but not straight away. How long did it take you to get here? Did it take you a few years? Did it take you a few million trillion thoughts? Probably. So it's going to take a little bit to turn that around, isn't it? So the first thing here is, if you have a setback, if you decide, let's just say, for, you know, want of a better example, that we say, okay, I'm going to decide to increase my focus. That's what I want to do. And you're going along really well. You start out the day really well, and all of a sudden something derails that. And you start to go into, you know, your memory, or you get distracted, or you get lost in something, and you realize that you've made a mistake. You've done something that you're not particularly happy about. The worst thing that you can do is punish yourself for that. That is the worst thing you can do. When have you ever felt inspired by punishment? When? If someone punishes you, you just feel bad. You just feel like you're not good enough. You just feel like that you've disappointed somebody else. So punishing yourself is definitely not the answer. That is not the answer. So I'd really like you to think about this carefully. So all I want you to do is recognize that you're going to have these setbacks, and simply redirect your attention back to focus. That's it. Just simply, you've noticed it, pull it back to the focus that you wanted to place it on. That's it. No beating up, no judgment, no punishment. None. Just, okay, I'm away from where I want to be. I'm going to just redirect my thoughts and put them back on that track. You know, I think that we need to be careful about this idea that, you know, I have to get it right, and if I don't get it right, then that makes me wrong. No, it just simply means that you're not practiced enough. So you just need to keep practicing. So, you know, don't get sidetracked. Don't get sidetracked. You know, if you decide that you want to focus on something, then give it everything that you've got. But, you know, don't allow yourself to fall into the trap where you're getting lost in things, you know, where you're losing yourself inside of situations. You know, as soon as you become aware, just redirect yourself. It's so powerful. If you keep doing this, the mind will learn to do it itself. You won't have to, you know, keep practicing this. You know, eventually it will become a habit, and your mind will do it itself. Another thing is, be careful about focusing on your past mistakes. Because look, sometimes, you know, we don't always get it right, you know, and to keep punishing yourself over the same mistake over and over again seems really unfair. You know, you've recognized that, you know, that doesn't work for you, and perhaps it was a mistake, or you consider it to be a mistake. You know, I don't think there are any mistakes. I just think there are opportunities to learn from. So to me, it's like, you know, it's never really a mistake. It's just how it was, and how would you like to do it differently? So perhaps you could consider that. Fear can take over very, very quickly. We do get a little bit paranoid about the mistakes that we've made, because we're afraid that we're going to make them again. You're a bit like when you drive. or you even ride a bike, it's not even driving. If you're focused, on a particular thing, then the car or the bike is going to go straight towards that particular thing. So if you're focused on worrying about repeating your past mistakes, the odds are, because you're focused on that, you're going to go in that direction. What we need to do is focus on the outcomes that we want to create. And when we do that, even though those past mistakes are still there, we're not actually focused on them. So where we're focused, our energy will move in that direction. Things like leaving things behind. Do you think that we could focus on the journey and leave things behind? What would it take for you to leave your past behind? Like what would it take? Now, that doesn't mean that, I'm suggesting that you wipe it out. It's actually helped you to get to where you are today. I'm not suggesting that. But what I am suggesting is that you don't have to carry all of it with you as you move forward. It's a very heavy burden, actually, to do that. And it's not necessary. Really, all we need to take forward are the things in which will help us to grow. So if something's not going to help you to grow, don't worry about it. Leave it behind. You've learnt the lesson from that. You don't need to keep focusing on it. You can just simply leave it behind. So that's something I definitely would ask you to consider. Are there things here that you could perhaps leave behind? When we do leave things behind, what happens is that we can reach out for things that are in front of us. Isn't that so much better? Isn't that a better way to be? That stuff back there, that's gone. You've turned your back on that. You've moved past it. You don't really need to trawl it. Focus on what's here in front of you and what the possibilities are. That to me is a wonderful way to use your energy as you move forward. People can say what they will, and we can't prevent people from saying what they will say and what they will think. That's not within our reach. But what we can do is we can take a very clear position within that. For example, if somebody says, you always do that, or you always fall down in that particular way, or they're picking on you in that particular way, you can say, yes, that may have been the case in the past, but you know what, I'm choosing to do it differently now as I go forward. Be proactive. Meet these situations not in an aggressive way, but in a proactive way, and you retain the power. They can think what they want to think, but you can choose to do it differently. Someone can try and lay a guilt trip on you, but you have to pick that up for that to be effective. So, there is no need for you to feel guilty. What's done is done. It's done. You're only feeling guilty because you're choosing to carry it forward with you. So, you can't change, and you can say to that person, unfortunately, I can't go back in time and I can't change that. But I can move on from it. And that's what I choose to do. Again, that's incredibly proactive, and people will try to pull you back. I know this, I understand this, but we do need to be persistent, and this is where perseverance comes in. Sometimes it does require us to forgive, either someone else or ourselves. It can be us that we can forgive. We can say, hey, I didn't know any better, or I didn't realize the impact that particular decision would have on my life or on the situation. But going forward, I'm going to be more mindful about this. What an incredibly powerful position to come from. And I think when we take up a firm position, what it does is that it allows us to actually feel strong in that. We're not feeling our weakness, we're feeling our strength. And that's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful. When we are actually concentrating on, being persistent, it means that we don't quit. When you're persistent with something, you don't quit. And, you know, we don't make excuses. We don't make excuses for things. We just accept, whoops, okay, let me pull myself back on track. You know, we don't try and sell it to ourselves. I don't think that's necessary. I think we need to give that up. It doesn't work. It's very negative, and it simply gives you a way out. And the way out that you are taking at that particular moment is actually perpetuating a cycle that you don't want. So I wouldn't advise it. It's not something that I think is advisable. So when you're feeling discouraged, it's really important that you jump in and you encourage yourself. You know, there are lots of situations, lots of people around us. There are, you know, lots of thoughts even in our own mind that can, you know, jump in and discourage us. Just remember that, you know, you are the person, the best person here for you to encourage yourself in the moment, to remind yourself, hey, hang on a minute. What is it that I'm going for again? You know, I'm going for something different. So I'm not going to make excuses for myself. I'm just simply going to point my feet in the direction in which I wish to travel, whatever direction that is. So it's easy to justify, isn't it? It's, you know, we'll say, you know, well, you know, I shouldn't persevere because, you know, I've had this mental health issue for so long, you know, it's a part of me. You know, we tell ourselves all of these kinds of circumstances. Look, you may have had, you know, a mental health issue for a long time. You may have struggled with your thoughts. You know, they may have got the better of you in the past. But you know what? I've never met anybody that, you know, couldn't improve their situation by choosing to channel and focus their energy differently. You know, even if it's not, you know, 100% of what it is that you're going for, but even just to improve things, I think is worth the effort. And I'm sure that you'll agree with me. Even just a slight improvement is great. But I have a feeling that once you try this, that you're gonna find that things are going to improve for you, and it's going to inspire you. You know, it's going to inspire you to keep going. I know sometimes that effort, you get tired. You know, we all get tired, and you know the mind is very tiring. The thoughts are very tiring, especially the repetitive thoughts. You know, they can be incredibly draining. So, you know, having things like channeling the energy differently. What I always say to people, you know, if the mind is overthinking, it means you need to get out of your head for a little bit. So whether that's something physical that you do, and, you know, doing something like going to the gym, or practicing your yoga, doing your Pilates, perhaps even a walking meditation is wonderful. In meditation, you know, the only problem is with a meditation practice, it can be a bit tricky if the mind is really, really overactive. So you might like to go for a walk first and then come back and meditate. And that might just be enough to slow things enough to allow you to sit and be present with your own mind. So, you know, you've got to kind of figure this out, and it will change and shift depending on what you're going on. You know, like if stuff's going on in your life that's really full on, well, you may need to work a little harder at this. You know, I was talking to someone the other day and they said, oh, my meditation practice has gone out the window. You know, I'm all I can think about is that I don't have a job, and so on and so on. And I said, well, you can't expect for your meditation practice to be what it was. You've got a lot going on that's now filling that space, and there's a lot of things that you need to work through. So I think let's be reasonable about this. Don't be hard on yourself. Just because that's what you've always done. You've done your 20-minute meditation, you know, for years, and you know, this is what happens. we've got to look at the circumstances and actually navigate around these things. So please be reasonable about this. You've got to be reasonable with yourself. I think it takes time to turn these things around. They don't happen overnight, and they don't happen with you applying effort for one day. They happen because of the perseverance, because of the persistent effort that you are going to be putting in. You're going to use this time up anyway. Okay, so don't worry about it that it's taking time. I find a lot of people get hung up on the fact that it's taking so long. You're in this time anyway. Since when could you hop out of time? I don't think you can hop out of time. You're here, you're going to be spending this time doing whatever. What are you going to be spending the time on? Overthinking? It's going to be happening anyway. So you might as well be spending this time, being proactive, practicing, bringing yourself towards a better outcome for you. I think that's a great investment. Investments often take time. Don't think for a minute that, you can invest in something and hit the jackpot. Occasionally, yes, but, certainly not most of the time. Most of the time, investments take time to pay off. So please don't lose faith in yourself, and look, if problems come up, and problems will come up, and you're going to doubt your ability, you're going to be thinking, oh gosh, I don't know whether I can do this. These things are really normal. Come back to your intention. Do you want to do this? Do you have a strong desire for things to get better? Is it strong enough for you to override this pattern of being? That's really only the question that you need to ask yourself. Is your desire much greater, wanting things to be better rather than settling for things to be as they are? That's it. That's bottom line. Don't view your problems as stop signs, where you should just stop. Oh, this is a problem. I can't seem to do this. I should stop. Don't do it. Don't stop. These things you call problems, or my mind is a problem, or my overthinking is a problem, or my stress is a problem, or my fear is a problem. These things that you call problems are really guidelines. Yeah, they're actually guiding you towards something better. And all you need to do is actually witness consciously what it is that you are considering to be a problem, because this is showing you where the work needs to be done. It's showing you that. So please look carefully. Look carefully. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to look very carefully here and see and locate what the problem is, so that then you can begin to address it. So encourage yourself. You're going to stumble. Encourage yourself to get up. Dust yourself off, get up, don't stay down. It's interesting, people sort of say to me, oh, well, I'm afraid that I'm going to stumble. So, I'm too scared to try. I've never heard of anybody stumbling while sitting down. In other words, doing nothing. Sure, you may stumble, but what you need to learn to do is to dust yourself off and to get back up. That's what builds resilience. That's what perseverance is. And that is precisely the thing that is going to lead you to a better outcome. Exactly that. Hello, everybody. So, difficult things take time. Impossible things take a little longer. I remember hearing that years ago and really relating to it. This thing that I call impossible, that I see as impossible, maybe it's not impossible. It just might take me a little longer. That's all. And maybe you could view your situation in the same light? Perhaps, I don't know. But it's certainly worth a go, hey? It's certainly worth a go. So decide to persevere. Decide it. I'm going to persevere with this. I'm going to give it a really good shot. I'm going to keep practicing. I'm going to persevere. Commit yourself to taking the action that's necessary, whatever that is, okay? If that's to transform your negative thinking to a positive way of thinking, if that's to stop complaining, whatever it is that you need to do, if it's reassuring yourself, commit to the action that you must take. Commit to that action. What I'd like you to do is really kind of consider that this perseverance that I'm asking you to be conscious of is going to build resilience in your life. How awesome is that? It's going to build resilience. So witness your own energy and the drive and the determination, and watch yourself. And sure, it may be momentary. It may just be happening in a particular moment and you might fall down in the next moment. But really identify and say to yourself, wow, look at that. I gave that a good go and it did work. So I can do it. I just need to become more practiced at it. That's all it is, okay? It's just being a little bit more practiced in it. Discover your momentum. Find your momentum. You will develop momentum through perseverance. You will find a pattern. You'll find your groove, your rhythm, whatever you want to call it. You will find that if you continue to persevere. You know, when we persevere, it encourages creativity. It encourages other ways of being. In doing, we discover things. And how fantastic is that? So we might sort of, start off by saying, well, I want to transform my negative thinking to a more positive way of being. And within that framework, we might find little ways that really works for us. So it's really worth giving it a go, It's really worth opening things up and discovering what's possible and really seeing, through the doing, what can come out of that for you. Being optimistic is something that has a wonderful, incredible impact on our outlook. Being optimistic, thinking, okay, maybe this is possible, I'd like to consider that this is possible. And that in itself will open things up for you to explore. It's an incredibly powerful way of being. So please consider that, optimism is something that you want to employ. You want to be aware of these things. It's confidence. It really does. It really builds confidence. And what you want to do is build confidence in yourself. Confidence in Latin, the word con means with, and fidens means faith. With faith in myself, with faith in my abilities, with faith in life, with, faith in the journey, whatever it takes, Believe me when I say to you, you don't have faith in your own abilities, no one else is going to have faith in them either. So you really want to start building that relationship with yourself and decide to have faith in yourself, decide to have faith in your abilities, because it's an incredibly powerful boost to your confidence, and that confidence will build. It will keep building. You just got to keep working at it. Choose to have faith. Do this with faith. And that way you will be naturally building confidence. Align with your efforts. Give yourself praise. Say to yourself, good job. This is great. Look at what I've done today. There's definitely power in words, okay? So watch the words that you're saying in here and watch the words that you're saying out of here. Heart is 10 times more powerful than the head, in fact, if we can align with it. But the problem is we get caught up in all the activity in the mind and we're not connected with the heart. There's no room for that because the mind is so distracting and dominant. But really connecting with the heart, is definitely, heart and mind together is very powerful. It's definitely like using your left and right hand together. One hand on their own, yeah, sure, it can do stuff and it can be powerful in its own way, but both hands together, wow, it's pretty awesome what we can do. And there's definitely more possibility when we use both of our hands in our experience rather than just one. So we want to be able to use the heart and the mind together. As I said, like left and right hand together, and definitely more powerful, more skillful as we move forward. Don't get caught up in all that protection. Don't get caught up in that because these are just the old reels that you have playing. And, they can be very distracting and we can, think that we have to keep thinking them. So in order to protect ourselves, we don't. We can just simply reassure ourselves that, we can say to the mind, it's okay, I've got this. I've got this, it's okay. You can relax. You ever told your mind to relax, like really relax? Like you can relax. You can take your foot off the pedal. You don't have to keep doing this. You don't have to keep, driving me into the ground. It's not necessary. I've got the message. It's perfectly fine. I've got this. It's very powerful. Try it. Tell your thoughts, I've got this. It's okay. You can relax. Just chill. It's perfectly fine. I've got it. So just be really careful when you say something, you're bringing it into creation. The moment that you utter a word, it comes out into creation. It's already created something. So just be very careful about the words that you choose to use. Identify that they're moving in the right direction for you. Are these words the ones in which you want to use to create your experience? So just be careful, be aware, because the voice has a lot of power and words are powerful. They carry a lot of meaning. And it's in the meaning that it actually carries that energy. I would like to recommend that we watch our thinking. We become aware of our self-belief. We choose to be confident. So we choose to do things with faith in our ability, with faith in our belief within self. And which I'm a big fan of, and I really am, put it in writing. When you put something in writing, you commit to something. I'm always putting things in writing. I'm always putting things up on my wall to remind myself about the things that I want to reintroduce or I want to, begin to take up. And that way it directs my focus. So putting things in writing, so having sort of, a piece of A4 paper or something with a word on it even, just to commit to something so that the mind can see it outside of itself. Very, very powerful. It's a wonderful habit to get into, putting things in writing. I've been doing it for many years, and for a long, long time, certainly when my kids were little, I would have the back of my bedroom door smothered in affirmations and smothered in things that I was, working on or wanting to focus on and wanting to send my thoughts to, so that I could begin to create channels in my mind so that my brain would pick these things up and run away with them. And, it's a fantastic way to do things. And it's a very fine quality. It's very much about committing. It's another form of commitment. So the spoken word is a form of commitment and the written word is also a form of commitment. So please give it a go. It's actually really powerful. Be aware of your speaking, as I said, and be aware of the doing. So be aware of the actions that you're taking and really be mindful that the whole of your being is at stake here. And you do need to be aware of each aspect of being. So in order to be, a successful human being, you do need to look at every aspect of self. It's not just having a healthy body and not having a healthy mind. It's not just having, a healthy mind and letting our body fall away. We've got to really work at each element of self, and one supports the other. One supports the other. It's a total well-being package, and that's what we want to go for. I really would like you to take advantage of this wonderful opportunity, that you've taken away something here that you can use in your life, in your everyday experience, that can begin to work with your mental health in a different way, and to really for your own betterment.